hopefully you fasten your seatbelts for the next 2 hours.
Right.
That's nonsense, Clint. I'm not buying it. I'm sorry.
I don't care what you buy.
That's
just
nonsense.
My feeling.
You're not just buying a racetrack. You're buying a piece of American racing history right there. I mean, that's huge. The history behind the track, just mind-boggling.
You hear a lot of rumors in the rumor mill. I'll just keep tuning in to you guys to hear the truth when it comes down to it. So
don't do that. I've already had one dose of tin hat syndrome today. I don't need a second one.
Stuart Friesen said to Brett, he says, "Why don't you bring us to more places like this?" And Brett goes, "There isn't any other place like this."
Race fans, it's time to throw it up on the cushion and get dirty. Coming to you live from the Finger Lakes and Southern Tier, it's time for Turn 5 Live. Now, your hosts of Turn 5 Live, Steve Ovens, Clint Miller, and Brad Ovens.
Oh, Clint, we got to shake off the cobwebs here, brother.
Yeah, no kidding, buddy. No kidding.
Oh, well, folks, welcome in to another episode of Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. And Clint, episode number 98 here on the Performance Motorsports Network. And an exciting announcement we'll start right off the top of the show with tonight. And I'm just going to throw this out here early on in the night, Clint. We're going to be kind of loose and groovy here tonight, as we have no phone guests to speak of tonight, because there is a crap ton of things to talk about. And we're just going to kind of evenly, we don't want to dump it all on everybody all at once. So we're going to kind of spread it out through the night tonight, have some good discussion and talk about the news and some of the newsmakers here in the Northeast and certainly in the Finger Lakes and Southern Tier. But we'll start it off with this, episode number 98 tonight, since we have moved over to the Performance Motorsports Network, and what a run it has been with them. But episode number 100, we'll come back here next Tuesday night for another live edition of Turn 5 Live. Then episode number 100 will be recorded at the Woodhull Raceway Banquet for the 2016 season. So excited about that. I think the Woodhull Banquet is one of my favorite shows of the year, right beside the Arnott Mall Car Show episode that we always record live in center court at the Arnott Mall. So looking forward to the banquet show, which we will record Saturday, December 10th. And, of course, it'll air that following Tuesday. But all the drivers from Woodhull, we'll catch as many of them as possible. We'll certainly get a chance to talk to three-time and defending, I should say three-time defending, and I think he's up to 18 championships now, Billy Van Pelt, who's going to be moving over to a new ride in 2017, and they just debuted that car at Parts Peddler.
Beautiful.
Oh, really, really nice-looking car. Back under the ownership of Kevin Shilson and the Instant Heat Wood Pellets brand. Just a beautiful car up there in the Bicknell Racing Products booth at the Parts Peddler here just a couple weekends ago. It seems like Parts Peddler was just a few days ago, but really it was 2 weekends ago. It's crazy. Crazy how the holidays do that to you.
They all start to blend together. The days do, right now. Right about now, it's probably the busiest home time of the year for everybody out there.
So, Glenn, I guess we'll kind of start the show off tonight. I figure we just kind of banter back and forth here. How were the holidays? I mean, the holidays are always busier than busy. Not even dirt track racing stuff, just getting together with family. How did you guys enjoy Thanksgiving?
Thanksgiving was really good. The last 3 or 4 years, I've had Friendsgivings. People that took me under their wing when my life wasn't at its best, and this year I had, I've got somebody to celebrate it with, so it made it that much better, and it was much more of a home feeling, and I wouldn't change it anything for the world.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good to hear. Brad, well, yeah, I mean, I was just going to bring Brad in here as we enjoyed a delicious meal that Leanne cooked up for us again, and then we came back down here to Horseheads for Thanksgiving with my in-laws. So, Clint, for a fat kid, I mean, Thanksgiving doesn't get any better than that,
No,
man.
no, it don't. No, it don't.
And yeah, especially when you come from a family of a split family, and Clinton, you know about that. So I mean, holidays like Thanksgiving, man, it's hey, you got to take the positives where you can, man. All the Thanksgiving turkey you can get your hands on. So Brad Ovens joining us on the show tonight. Brad, a great weekend, Thanksgiving, and man, we even got to do some racing ourselves.
Oh, yeah. It's always a good time when you get to hit the high banks up in Dundee at the Radio Hill. So a lot of good racing, a lot of close racing. And, man, I'll tell you what, I've never really got my heart pumping on an RC car race. But, man, I'll tell you what, Saturday night sure did it.
Yeah, that's for sure. We actually took the Creekside and Turn 5 RC team on the road this weekend. We hit up Radio Hill on Saturday night and, had some respectable finishes there. Brad certainly had the best finish of all of us from the weekend. But and then Sunday took a trip up to Underground RC, which is up in Fulton, New York. And boy, what a different day that was. Racing, we went from racing on packed dirt on Saturday at Radio Hill to racing on carpet, and although we've raced on the turf track up at Small Addictions RC, which is newly renamed Small Addictions RC, and that's right in the Finger Lakes Mall in Auburn. So if you've ever been to the Auburn Mall and you've seen the RC track in there, that's what we're referring to. We race up there on Wednesday nights, and that is a turf, almost like an AstroTurf type carpet track, where Underground up in Fulton is more of a flat carpet surface, but a lot of the divisions up there get to run tire prep for more grip in the corners, where we're not used to. I've never used tire prep before. And actually, I didn't use it on Sunday. Your car actually picks it up off the carpet as you're racing. And so we never had to buy any or use it. But I'll tell you what a different experience that was. Clicking off 3.5-second laps. And, I mean, man, those cars were motoring. It was a good time. And we're looking forward to getting up to Small Addictions RC tomorrow and go back at it again for our Wednesday night oval night. And just been having a real good time with that stuff, and that's going to help us get through the winter. I know I speak for myself when I say that, but I mean, it was man, Clay, it has been crazy lately. And it's we call it silly season for a reason. I mean, it has been nuts lately. We've got the Gobbler coming up this weekend that's been postponed into December for the second year in a row, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But a lot of news coming out from all the local tracks, and it's this is kind of a fun time of year trying to keep up with all of it.
Yeah, for sure. It just seems like everywhere you look on social media, there's something else. And, some of it makes you shake your head. Some of it, makes you feel like, dirt track's not dying. It's here to stay. And discussions that people get in, some of it makes you laugh. It's just crazy.
No, that's for sure. Hold on. Boy, we almost had an emergency here in the makeshift Chop 2 studios. We just about sent the Yeti across the room here.
Oh boy!
I gotta tell you, I love the Yeti, man. Can I just talk about? I know that
plug it.
I know Yeti's not an official sponsor here on Turn 5, but man, I love the Yeti. Oh, I love the Yeti.
Does it keep it cold?
Well, not only does it keep it cold, man, it's kind of scary how long the Yeti will keep ice formed up like it is. I went from Saturday around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and I still had ice in my cup Sunday afternoon at 5 p.m. when we left Fulton to drive home.
Wow.
I mean, that is, it makes you wonder. It's like, oh man, what's the chemicals here? What am I doing to my body here? But anyway, I guess I'll just turn a blind eye to that. But you know what? We've got Clint, we've got Brad Ovens on the show tonight. We got Brad behind the glass down in the Race City USA studios down in Mooresville, North Carolina. Brad, I hope your family enjoyed a nice Thanksgiving, my friend.
Yeah, it was great.
Good stuff, buddy. Good stuff. That's Brad Clayton. He works behind the glass for us down in the PMN studios down in Mooresville. And Clint, we like to have fun, and we're gonna get we're gonna have a lot more fun. We're gonna get Brad worked into the show here with us a little bit, and
I was gonna say, do you ever feel like maybe he wasn't ready for that?
Yeah, well, that's what I said, man. Tonight it's fast and loose, and Brad, you got to learn on turn 5. You got to be ready for anything, man.
Hey, I had the mic on mute. I wasn't ready for you.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Hey, Clint, before we, we'll be taking our first break here in a little bit. I do want to mention that we do have Jacob Seelman from Race Chaser Online and the Performance Motorsports Network. He's going to be joining us at 9 o'clock tonight as we're going to talk silly season news and notes from the world of outlaws. Both on the sprint car side, the late model side, some Super Dirt Car Series notes as well. And Clint, has there been a story so far that for you has kind of taken the cake as far as silly season notes go?
I think one of the things that I saw that it's not really a silly season thing. It's one of those wow factor facts that Jacob put up, that Casey Kane led NASCAR in most laps run this year and never led a lap all year long.
Yeah. Not a season to write home for Casey Kane.
No. Especially when your teammate, a rookie teammate, is on the pole, makes the chase. Your 7-time. Yeah. Even Alex Bowman filling in for Junior gets a pole at Phoenix.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
I know for sure that Casey Kane wasn't getting no love on Motorsports Madness last night. So I'm going to do my best not to pile on. Brad says, poor Casey. I'm going to do my best not to pile on to that bandwagon tonight. But Brad, how about you? I mean, there's been so much news that, in terms of news that have come out here in the off season. Is there a story that we're going to talk about tonight that has stood out to you, kind of taking the cake for silly season?
Well, I believe you were commenting on it earlier, the H. Scott Motorsports versus Clint Boyer lawsuit. I mean, you want to talk about silly season. I mean, that's the definition of silly right there. I don't know how you can be contractually obligated. There you go. Thank you. Contractually obligated to pay a guy a certain amount of money over a certain amount of time, and then say, "Oh well, sorry, I used my personal funds up. There isn't no money." I mean, that's just. I mean, come on now.
Well, that's
something you don't expect to come out of NASCAR. Should say that.
It's interesting because I don't get it, guys. Like I don't get the point. Like, do they honestly think that they have a shot? Like, unless there's some crazy wording in the contract, which I feel very strongly is not the case. I mean, how do they honestly think that, that they have a shot in court? I mean, they're using all the PR terminology of we think we have the best defense and blah, blah, blah. Dude, you signed a deal with a driver, and this doesn't just go for Clint Boyer or a NASCAR driver. This is anybody. You signed a deal with a driver. I mean, this could even go as far as, signing a sponsor or something like that. You signed a driver. You say you're going to pay him this amount, and you do it. And if you don't, then they're going to have their day in court, and you're probably going to end up paying it anyway. So I don't understand. I don't understand.
It's not like you signed on a third string driver as it was. You didn't sign on somebody who was just happy to have a ride. You signed on one of, in the last 5 years, one of NASCAR's top 15 drivers. You've got a guy who's championship quality who just hasn't had the ride yet. You can't tell me that there's something in that contract that his lawyers and his managers and everybody in that Boyer camp didn't find.
I'm with you. I totally agree.
I think there's a Tom Baker Donkey of the Day, which I believe you gave.
Yes. I actually handed it out for Tom today. I didn't even give Tom a chance to hand out the daily Donkey of the Day, but H. Scott Motorsports gets my Donkey of the Day. Maybe, guys, my Donkey of the Month. I know that's really going out on a limb, Clint, but I almost think it's Donkey of the Month at this point. And you know what, Clint? Part of this you look at and you're like, man, I wonder how much of this has to do with the fact that this was really a one and out. Like, this was really a placeholder, so to speak, for Clint, because he's going over to Tony Stewart Racing. Everybody knew that. And I think it's unfortunate that, knowing all of that now, this team's trying to, it feels like trying to snake out of it.
Yeah, but they did the same thing for Kurt Busch.
Yeah.
When they bridged the gap between wherever Kurt Busch was and Tony Stewart Racing. So it's not like it's the first year that they've done it.
Yeah. Well, we'll step aside here. When we come back, we'll start chipping away at silly season 2017 and some of the news and notes that have come out, and something that I didn't happen to mention here in the first break. I'll tell you all about that coming up next year on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Max Dairy Bar is a proud supporter of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Opened in 1974, Max Dairy Bar has been a Penn Yan, Cayuga Lake, and Yates County staple, serving the best Hershey's hard ice cream. They also have soft serve ice cream, their weekly yogurt special, sorbet flavors, gluten-free options, frozen Greek yogurt, and non-dairy lemon ice. Don't forget about their tricky 18-hole putt-putt course that will test your skill to see if you have what it takes to be a champion. Max Dairy Bar and Mini Golf, located on State Route 14A, just south of the village of Penn Yan, right on the way to Black Rock Speedway on Friday nights. Visit them online at www.maxdairybar.com or Max Dairy Bar on Facebook and Twitter. Stop by Max Dairy Bar and tell them Turn 5 Live sent you.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust, the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Now back to the crew whose studio was named after a dinner entree. Here's Stephen, Clint, and Brad.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen and Brad Ovens, Clint Miller, joining you live on the air here. We've got Brad in the Race City USA studios in Mooresville, North Carolina, bringing you tonight's show. And guys, something we didn't even get to here in the first segment, but God, it's been so long since we've been all together here on the air. An announcement that I actually made here just a little bit ago, about a week or so ago, that I will not be returning to Outlaw Speedway in 2017. Had a great conversation with Tyler Seary here, like I said, just about a week ago, and it just this season was absolutely bananas. Announcing and doing PR for both Outlaw Speedway, Woodhull Raceway, and doing the full-time gig with Guthrie at the same time. Really, I knew it was going to be a big project, a big task to try and tackle, but I wanted to give it a shot, see if I could do it, make it work, and I proved to myself that it was possible. I about drove myself crazy about 6 different times trying to do it, as Clint and Brad well know, but it's just I need to cut back a little bit for next season. So I called Tyler Seary up, and it's tough. Friday I did love Fridays. I mean, Outlaw Speedway is always, for me, and Clint, I know you know what I'm talking about here. That place is always going to be your home track. When you go to another dirt track and somebody says, "Where are you from? What's your home track?" I mean, for me, that place has always been home. I grew up going to races there from less than a year old, and then, getting a chance to race there myself. And after hanging up the helmet, having a great opportunity to cover it as a media member and then as an announcer and a PR director, like I said, that place is always going to be home. But, it's the schedule this past season, and really not so much race night, but it's all the work during the week and all the little things that you try to do to make sure that you do justice by the drivers and the track owner that you're working for and the fans, you're trying to put out as much as you can so that they feel connected to the track and the drivers and the sport and really get amped up about it. I didn't feel that there was any way that I could continue at that pace and still make everything else work. And, we're in a new place here in the Southern Tier, and we've got a beautiful deck out back, and we're looking forward to having some Friday night barbecues next season. So that's that. And as far as coming back to Woodhull, man, I am jacked up. I am absolutely fired up about coming back to Woodhull. I have told everybody that has either reached out via text or a private message on Facebook that I am 1,000% in at Woodhull Raceway. Part of the reason that I worked both tracks this year, Clint, was trying to, figure out, this was the first time I'd really worked at Woodhull in any capacity other than maybe covering a race here or there on the media side. Mm-hmm. I didn't know what to expect there. I didn't know. I didn't really know a lot of people. I knew some people, knew some of the drivers, but I didn't really know anybody there. That place was very, it was far from the comfort level that I have at Dundee, knowing pretty much everybody there and having seen races there for almost all of my 30 years on planet Earth. And I mean, going to Woodhull was a very different experience. I wasn't sure what to expect, and had things not really panned out at Woodhull, I certainly would want to continue working at Dundee. But I'll tell you, man, I had an absolute riot at Woodhull this year. I got to know so many great people, and I'm just looking forward to really expanding on that this season. We've got a whole list of ideas. I've been talking to Ted and Brandy White, Scott Lyon, who does the flagging and heads up the photos and awards and everything there, and Megan DePay as well. I think she's planning on coming back as our intern at Woodhull Raceway as part of her college studies, and we're just coming up with some ideas, some things that they've not done at Woodhull before that I think is going to help get the fans a little more involved and get the kids more involved. Because we say it on this show all the time, the kids are the future of our sport, and anything that we can do to make the racetrack special for them and provide some of those memories that all of us, even our the folks that are listening to our show tonight or listening to us on YouTube, you have those memories of either being at the races as a kid or the first time you went to a track. There was something that happened, or there was an event that was going on that made you, that hooked you, that got you, that got it into your blood. And, that's some of the things that we're looking at trying to do in 2017 at Woodhull. So really looking forward to that. But that's my little spiel on that. I know I really have been blown away with some of the messages and things like that from folks since I made that announcement on social media here about a week ago. It was a really, really good time there. I wish Tyler and Mel Thomas, Paul Small, the whole crew there, I wish them a lot of luck. I know they're doing great things there, and it's only going to get better at Outlaw.
Agreed, Steve. And Ted and Brandy White are amazing people. And, I've dealt with Ted a few times, parts here and there, buying tires or whatever, and even for somebody like us who doesn't run every week at his track, or like this year we didn't make it over at all, went out of his way to make us feel appreciated and thanking us for what we do, and as far as racing wise, and then thanking me for us at Turn 5 and what we've done for the sport. And it's just little things like that make things like that stick out in your mind. And we're gonna miss you at Outlaw, of course, and I know that you'll be making your rounds, and you'll still have I'll still be there for Turn 5, seeing and commenting and analyzing and stuff like that. But definitely won't be the same without you there. And but we don't ever stray too far apart.
No, and our level of coverage is. Certainly we may not have the victory lane interviews like we've been accustomed to here for the past 2 seasons, but certainly they're going to be a very, very relevant piece of the conversation here on Turn 5. They always have been, and they always will be. And so there's definitely a period of time that there's going to be some change, and like I said, hats off to Tyler, because he has really brought in a great guy, a hell of an announcer, and somebody that is going to make this transition really, really seamless. And that's Paul Small, of course. We've had him on this program before, and he actually joined us up in the booth announcing at the Dutch Oak Memorial. And so he's going to do a great job. He and Mel Thomas have worked together many, many times over the years. And so looking forward to them having another successful year. And, why don't we stick on Outlaw Speedway here for just a second, because 308 truckloads of new clay put down on the Fast 4/10 mile. Everybody's been talking about it, Clint. The racing, I think, is going to be some of the best around. And certainly, you may have to give it a couple of weeks, for them to really see what the track needs, what it likes, what it doesn't like, right out of the box. But I'll tell you, man, when we get to, the late spring, they're going to have that place figured out, and I think the racing is going to be phenomenal.
I couldn't agree with you more. I've looked forward to this place being red clay for I don't know how long, probably since they put the blue clay down, Sam and Lynn back in 03 or 04, 05, whatever it was, I don't even know. But I always remember it back in the late 80s, 90s, always being the red clay, and it always seemed to have better bite and better racing when you look around anywhere, and I'm really excited for it. And they ran the bankings a little more, and they put banking back on the top of 1 and 2, so you should be able to have an outside groove all the way around the track now. They took out the big implement tires, and not really sure how they're going about the infield of the track right now. But I just think that everything they've done so far will do nothing but help the place.
The banking in the corners, I think this was something Brad and I talked about at one point, was it is going to create the resurgence of the outside lane. And, really, we've not seen that in a good number of years. That's exciting right off the top.
Yeah, I mean, when your high groove is half to 3/4 of the way up the racetrack, and there's so much more up on top, I just think the possibilities are endless.
So we've got that to look forward to. We've also got some other announcements from Parts Peddler that they've made about the Outlaw Speedway, and an announcement that came out today from Nick Guerri about a early season sportsman race. We're going to tell you all about it next here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speed, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
So when you get to the corner of Smith and Orchard, you're going to want to take a
You
left.
are not going to
then
believe
what you're
this.
going to do is turn
Marcy
into Marcy
and Brad
Avenue
just broke up,
and go past
and
the
apparently
first 3
she's
lights,
happy
and
about
then take
it.
the next left.
I don't really
Then
think
drive
she's
5 more
happy,
blocks,
but
and you should be
who am
there.
I to judge, right?
Park
anyway,
on the right.
That's
I'll
what
see
I
you
heard
later
last
tonight.
night.
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi, race fans. This is the voice, Shane Andrews of the Big Block Modified Super Dirt Car Series, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen and Brad Ovens, Clint Miller joining you on the program tonight. And we're talking dirt track racing. We're talking silly season 2017. and talking news and notes for the upcoming season, a lot of which being released out at the Parts Peddler here just a couple of weeks ago. And boy, Clint, sticking with Outlaw Speedway here for this part of the segment here, bringing in the Tony Stewart Arctic Cat 410 All-Star Sprints for a show. Super Dirt Car Series comes in for a show. Wow. I mean, talk about some big news for 2017 with some big shows.
Yeah, definitely. And, he said during the meeting when he first took over the racetrack that his goal was to bring in a World of Outlaws sprint car show. Well, he didn't get the World of Outlaws, not this year anyway. But bringing in the Tony Stewart All-Stars, the classic car that they bring is, they're not a bunch of slackers, compared to the World of Outlaws. They're a tough group of guys. They're fast. They're dangerous, and they're going to put on as good a show as the Outlaw guys do. The Super Dirt Car Series coming back, I think, is fantastic. It's been many years since they've been back, and I remember good races. Steve Payne, Danny Johnson. The names that are there that are back now. Back when they were running, full time the Super Dirt Car schedule, it always just seemed to go to the next level up when when all the guys came down that didn't run here weekly. It was kind of sad that we didn't have a Brett Deo show, but because obviously Brett's the other guy that's got his hands in a big cookie jar and making a big success of this modified racing sport.
Yeah, it's I thought that was interesting not to see them come back for 2017, and I don't know if maybe part of that has to do with being able to bring in the Super Dirt Car Series. I'm not going to speculate on that, but I feel like they never had a great opportunity here this past season because of the rain out and having to run the rain date the next day. I feel like they didn't get in both sides. I'm not saying one side or the other. I'm saying, Tyler with the track, Brett with the series, the teams that probably could have come out on the scheduled date, but maybe couldn't come back for the rain out date. I just feel like nobody really got a fair shake at that, but it was still a pretty good race. I mean, Matt Shepard did end up, taking the victory in a pretty impressive fashion, but the racing back through the field I thought was really, really good. And, it was another marquee event here in our area for the Short Track Super Series, going along with their second stop at Woodhall this season. And, unfortunate to see that drop off the schedule, but I'll tell you, there is no lack for marquee events here in 2017. Another one that was announced here after Parts Peddler was the Gary Montgomery Memorial, and I believe it's now been shifted to Gary Montgomery Memorial Night, and so I definitely like that change because
yes,
I think anybody that knows Gary Montgomery well enough will know the fact that he was probably spitting nails if he knew that a crate late model race was named after him as a memorial event. And when that first came out, I thought, oh my word, and I've got to know Gary pretty well in my 30 years of being alive and getting to know Gary right in our hometown and having done so many interviews with him. I mean, he was the one that coined the phrase crate Kool-Aid right here on Turn 5
right here
Live.
on our show. Yep.
So when it first was announced as a crate late model race, with his name as the memorial, I thought, oh, what would Gary say about that? But anyway, I'm glad to see they've shifted it to Gary Montgomery Memorial Night because Gary was, to me, and this is just my personal opinion, Gary deserved more than just one race. He deserves a memorial night, just like Jeffy Searles does. I mean, these two guys were Jeffy was an icon at Outlaw and Woodhull, and enjoyed
And
the
Little
races.
Valley and
Little Valley, exactly. And he made a name for himself in his own way.
Yep.
And Gary did the same thing, not just at particular tracks, but in the sport as a whole. So I'm glad to see that he will have a Memorial Night, and I believe that is early in June. And so the Rush Crate Late Model Series will come in for an event at the Outlaw Speedway, and I'm excited about that because I think it is going to be the best, it will be one of the best crate late model races that has ever taken place at that track. I almost wanted to say the best, but I'll tell you that topless race that the Go Nuclear Series ran on one of the fall specials, I think it was 2 years ago now, that was a really good race. That was a really, really good race. So, but because the crate late models haven't taken off and we don't see a full field of them on a regular Friday night, Clint, I think a series race, I mean, if we could get a full field, if we get 24 of those cars, what a show that's going to be on the Fast 410 Smile. I mean, remember back to the BRP 360 late model days when we had a full field of cars and you had those late models going at it for 20, 30 laps. I think that's going to be real exciting when the Rush series comes in.
Oh, no doubt. And all you got to do is think of the names of the guys that are running the crate late models are the same ones that were down here when the BRPs. You got the Knowleses, the Warnerlings, Wayne Robertson, John Waters. The list goes on and on. In Bryce Davis, and oh my God, stopping Bryce Davis at Outlaw Speedway in the last 3 or 4 times he's been on the racetrack. Good luck with that. It's just amazing how times have changed, but the competition has stayed the same.
No, absolutely. I mean, you're going to see a lot of familiar names that have run there over the years. And don't be surprised if it's those familiar names that you see contending for the win on that night. Certainly the Knowles boys, who have competed there full-time this past season, are going to be in the running. But, yeah, I mean, you got guys like John Waters. You got guys like Bryce Davis, any of the Wonderlings. I mean, there's going to be a lot of stiff competition for that one, and really looking forward to that. There's going to be a lot of sprint car races in 2017, and no matter what side of the fence you fall on that, whether you love to see the sprint car shows or you don't, boy, if you do love to see them, you're going to get a lot of them. You're going to have plenty of exposure, and it's going to be a nice combination of challenge races between ESS, Patriot, Sprint Tour, and URC. There's also, I guess I'll have to bring Brad in on this one because he's the sprint car diehard of the group here. You've got a good mix of those challenge races. You've got a couple of ESS shows, and the first ESS point race of the season once again will take place at the Outlaw Speedway. You've got the Patriot show, which always falls on Watkins Glen weekend. And then you've got the return, Brad, of the 2-day fall show, what used to be referred to as the Bully Hill Nationals. That could be one of the biggest 360 sprint races in the Northeast.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you can't go wrong when you've got wings and 360s. And I'll tell you what, I cannot wait to see and hear the 410s racing around the Dundee Oval. Man, I'll tell you what, that is going to be a show.
I mean, the speed, Brad, is going to be my, as you say in our opening of the show every week, the speed of the 410 sprints on a momentum track like Outlaw Speedway I mean, when those and you throw in on top of all of that, the cherry on top, the fresh new clay with no rocks being laid down on the speedway. I mean, good night. Those 410s are going to be wicked.
I mean, I remember Corey Reed made a statement on social media back during Super Dirt Week when the World of Outlaws were at Fulton. He made the statement on social media that there's nothing better than the sound of a 410 sprint car winding it up going down the front stretch. And I'll tell you what, it's going to be like a symphony. It's just fantastic.
Want to wrap up on another announcement that just came out today at Outlaw Speedway, and that is the April 20th and 21st will be the Outlaw Thaw, a 50-lap sportsman special that is coming to Outlaw Speedway. Now, this is the race. If you've been familiar with the races, the Cabin Fever shows that Nick Guerry has helped at Canandaigua Motorsports Park promote, that show is now coming to Outlaw Speedway. I believe they're still going to run a Cabin Fever type event at Canandaigua, but Nick is going to be focusing his efforts on this Outlaw Thaw, 50-lapper for the sportsman. And from what I understand, it is going to be somewhere around a $6,200 purse for that show. And so that is going to be a great show to start off the season for the Crate Sportsman contingent. And if you've had any familiarity with the Cabin Fever shows, there is going to be a boatload of contingency prizes on the line. And I give a tip of my cap to Nick, because as much work as we have done with the Empire 100 and the Woodhall 100, just trying to get lap sponsors and getting a few contingencies, the work that Nick has been able to do with this event at Canandaigua has, I take my hat off to him, because the manufacturers that come on board and have supported this event that he has helped organize is second to none. I mean, when you can finish, I think it was Danny Kaye a couple years back who finished 24th in the Cabin Fever event at Canandaigua and walked away with half off the price of a complete wrap on his Sportsman Modified. I mean, that's a good day at the racetrack. And when you can finish back in the 20s and still get a great contingency prize like that, there's a lot of hard work in the background going on to make all of that happen. So looking forward to that in early April, that Outlaw Thaw 50 coming up to kick off the season in 2017. Hey, guys, we'll step aside. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about Woodhall Raceway, some of the things they've got coming up here at the banquet coming up here, not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. We'll talk about that, their track champions, and some of the news coming out here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the Track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the Track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ball in street? Girl in street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives, and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Brett Deo, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen and Brad Ovens, Clint Miller, joining you on the program here tonight, and we're talking silly season 2017. And now before we move on, Clint, there was one thing that I had written down here that I want to make sure I cross off my checklist, and we're actually, this kind of is a tease to next week's show. Thomas Gregory and Rich Sharpstein, who are two guys that have really stepped up in the tech department at Outlaw Speedway. They're going to be on the program next Tuesday because there are changes coming to both the street stock rules and the four-cylinder rules for 2017. And I talked to Rich at the RC track this weekend, and they the four-cylinder rules, it sounds to me like this is just a shift to try and do a better job of having a almost matching set of rules between Outlaw Speedway and Woodhall Raceway, because there is a good number of teams that maybe even if they don't race at the other track on a full-time basis, there is a lot of crossover there in the four-banger ranks. And then, of course, with the street stocks, there's some crossover, but you know we're getting to a really good place with street stock rules, Clint, where you know we're getting more and more tracks on board with this rules package that was kind of centered around the Empire 100, where you could essentially bring any street stock in New York State to the Empire 100 to race. And so, Clint, I know they've posted the rules, and you've had a chance to kind of glance over them. I know all the street stock guys are talking about it, but it doesn't sound like there's, vast changes to the rules. What have you seen so far?
Just, little bits here and there. I think, they're moving the rear springs back to the stock location on the rear end, which, is everything is within 1 inch, but 1 inch is a lot when it comes to transferring weight in one of these race cars. They're allowing the Generation 2 transmission this year, which, if anybody remembers what went on at the World 100 last year, it was a big can of worms. And I don't like that. It's more free than the Generation 1 as far as movement inside. It also costs about $600 more. I just worry that I think they have a base now, and I think they should just leave it alone. I don't know if there's that much more that they can do to these cars without making them into a late model, other than changing tires and changing the rear suspension. Going to a 3-link. There's not much more, not very far off what our old super stocks used to be, and we've talked about it, time and time again. So there's that. Making all the cars 3,000 pounds, I think that makes it easier on the track. We don't really know about how it's going to affect the crate portion of it. We know that all I know is that LET. She's the only one that ran a crate full time last year, I believe. And she's young. She's just learning the V8 class, being her second year. So it's hard to judge. Now John Carpenter came up there in one of the Empire 100s and ran lights out with his crate, with whatever the rule was at that time. So I think that they just tweaked it a little bit, and it's nothing that anybody's going to have to go out and make wholesale changes on their car. I mean, you got what you got, and you can be competitive with what you got, and it's just little things. That's all.
I want to make it clear that we're just kind of analyzing some of the changes here.
Mm-hmm.
Not bashing in any way.
No,
but
no.
I'm curious. What do you think, as somebody who works on these cars every week and is really immersed in the street stock division? What do you think the motivation to make that change with the Gen 2 transmission? What was really the motivation behind that? I mean, what was the talk of the pit area, or what's the talk now amongst guys that about that transmission? I mean, it costs about $600 more. And as we know, if one guy has it, there's going to be a boatload of other guys that are going to think they're going to need to have it too, which just drives up the cost. So I'm just wondering what you think maybe the motivation is to make that change.
Steve, the only thing that I can really think of is the Gen 1 transmissions were kind of getting harder and harder to find, because I think most of the sportsman guys run the Gen 2s, and the modified guys run the Gen 2s. And I think what maybe they're thinking is, over the course of the next year or two, maybe they'll become more readily available on the used market, and so you don't have to pay that top dollar for it. I don't know. I've talked to people, and they don't seem to think that there is a huge difference. But where do you what makes, I guess I don't know. I guess I don't know what makes, if there's not that much difference, why are they so much more expensive? So I don't know that. I don't know that. I can't bridge that gap right now.
This might be a heck of an opportunity for us to call up our buddy Joe Wilcox, mm-hmm. and talk about some of the differences. And I mean, because boy, if you're going to talk transmissions, that's your guy to talk to. I mean, that'd be interesting. That'd be an interesting conversation to have, because we've talked to him before when it was even introduced that we were going to run some of the Burton Falcon type transmissions. So, that'll be interesting. That would be a good conversation here to maybe look forward to having over the off season. But so anything really other than that, it doesn't sound like, other than maybe that with the transmission, nothing else too major.
Well, there is one that I'm definitely not sure about yet. They're talking about letting the old BRP chassis run, which are a tube chassis as opposed to the stock frame rails. Don't know what you're going to see of that this year. Don't know the difference. The jury's still out on that one, because that, you could really build a super street stock, with those kind of with that kind of info, and I'm gathering info on that. I've talked with Jared Hill a little bit about it, and that's kind of a wait and see right now.
Gotcha. I know they're going to be talking about some of these items a little bit later in the week, and I had talked to both Thomas and Rich about the 4-cylinders, and they both seem open to coming on the show next Tuesday once they have more information to talk about that. So I'm looking forward to that. And if you want to hear more about those rules and all of that happening with the street stock and the 4-cylinders, tune in next Tuesday night, as we'll have them both live on the air during the program. We'll try and get the times out so that everybody knows about it ahead of time, because I know there's a lot of folks that are waiting with bated breath to see what the changes are going to be. But let's step aside here. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the news that has come out about Ransomville, about Freedom, about Woodhull, as well as at Genesee. So we'll talk more about that next here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
For 17 years, Stock Car Steel has been a leading materials supplier to the racing industry. Now they're also an official motorsports content partner of Race Chaser Online. The biggest names in NASCAR trust Stock Car Steel for all their raw materials, such as carbon steel, chrome moly, DOM, aluminum, plastics, and much, much more. You can't build a race car without the basic materials, and Stock Car Steel is the place to get them. Don't forget to also visit Stock Car Steel's sister company, SRI Supplies, for racing and industry. SRI is your number one source for all your shop supply needs. Nuts, bolts, rivets, tapes, adhesives, cutting tools, chemicals, body shop supplies, paint shop supplies, lubricants, and more. A well-stocked race shop is a winning race shop, and the road to winning begins with 3 letters, SRI. For more information, visit stockcarsteel.com and SRI-supplies.com. You can also find them on Facebook at Stock Car Steel and Aluminum, or call either company toll-free at 1-888-752-7272.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be, with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Alicia Ruggles, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Oh, wow. I think we're going to have to re-record that one, Clint. She's a married woman now.
Yeah, she's not a Ruggles anymore.
She is not a Ruggles anymore. Alicia Bay bringing us back from commercial break here. And, there's actually one part about the off-season I do love is getting to go to some of these events, like the banquets, like the race benefit parties, like the Syracuse Motorsports Show in the spring, and the Arnott Mall Car Show and the Finger Lakes Mall Show and all that good stuff, is to get to freshen up our re-entries from the commercial breaks. And the ones that we've had this season have been awesome. We've had a real good mix of drivers, promoters, announcers, what have you. And as we get through the off season here, we're looking forward to get some new ones recorded and work those into the lineup here. So, we really appreciate the drivers that do that, because a lot of these drivers locally, Clint, they're not NASCAR drivers. They're not used to somebody sticking a microphone in their face and saying, "Here, read off this card," and so it's always a good time getting to do that kind of thing. So, all right, so let's do a little rundown here. A lot of news and notes that has already taken place here. I was skimming through this week's Area Auto here just a little bit ago, seeing some of the things that are being discussed there, and certainly Race New York and some other dirt track forums as well. And so a couple of things that have stuck out. Number one, I saw today that Merrittville Speedway has been sold. So Merrittville Speedway will have new ownership. And here just recently, Pete Bicknell was crowned as the Merrittville champion. And, of course, that'll be the last time that he'll be crowned champion as a part owner of Merrittville. So new ownership coming in at Merrittville. Some other news and notes up in the Buffalo-Niagara region, close to the Canadian border there. Tana Robinson will not be returning as a sales, marketing, and really general manager of Ransomville Speedway, as it's been her replacement was just announced, Jen Martin, in the Area Auto Racing News today. So, tip of the cap to Tana, because she was always fantastic to work with at Ransomville, whether it was a last-minute email, asking to come cover a race at Ransomville. We always got a yes from Tana and Ransomville. Even a day that I contacted them the day of an event because I was working up in Buffalo, and it was, literally right down the road. So it will be sad to see Tana leave Ransomville, as she has worked there for 17, 18, maybe 19 years. I think I read. She's been there a long time, and really did a great job for all of the owners that she got to work with there at the Big R. Now, speaking of Ransomville, they also just made an announcement here just a couple days ago, guys. The World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, sponsored by Craftsman, will be coming to the Big R in 2017. I believe the date is July 23rd. The World of Outlaws Sprint Cars at Ransomville. And it's been a good number of years, Brad, since we've seen the World of Outlaws at Ransomville. Matter of fact, I can remember some of the crash videos with some footage of the Outlaws at Ransomville. But boy, it's been a good long time since we've seen that. That's going to be exciting to see the Outlaws back at the Big R.
Oh yeah, it's the Big R's kind of a similar track to Outlaw. The high bank, really a big momentum track, and I've never taken in a sprint car race at Ransomville, but always talking to Mike Emhoff and those guys. Whenever they go to Ransomville, it's always really good racing up there. So I can't imagine the show they're going to put on up there.
I imagine that, I've been there for modified shows, guys, and they've really packed the joint, and there will be standing room only, if that. I mean, if you've got an RV out in the parking lot and it's tall enough to see the racetrack, you're going to be selling seats for that World of Outlaws show, because there is not going to be, you're going to want to get there early for that one. I know a lot of people have already got that one circled on their calendars. So the World of Outlaws coming to Ransomville in July. Talking about, we had Bob Reese on here just a couple of weeks ago, Clint, talking about the modifieds, the big block, small block modifieds with sail panels coming to Freedom. Now, this was kind of an eyebrow raiser because I didn't expect that announcement. But after having Bob on the show and a great chat with him here on the program a couple weeks ago, I'm curious to your thoughts, Clint, because I think this is an idea that could really pan out well for Bob at Freedom.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to pull. They're at an area where they're going to be able to pull some cars probably from Ohio, and cars that I don't think it's going to hurt Outlaw that much, but there's definitely cars from up north and up around that area that they're going to be able to draw there on Friday nights, and I think it's going to be a big help to their track.
I think that Bob put it best when he said we are about the same distance, and I haven't pulled it up on MapQuest, so all the fact checkers, calm down, sit back down in your chair. You're almost the same distance from Ransomville, from Canandaigua, from Outlaw Speedway from Woodhull. And so, I think that is going to be a great combination. There's obviously been a lot of excitement about that already at Freedom. Mm-hmm. So, good for them. They have laid new clay down as well, so that should be pretty exciting. They have dropped the crate late models for 2017, but for those guys racing out in that area, obviously you've still got Genesee Speedway in Batavia, which is going to be racing both 360 late models and crate late models in 2017. That brings us to Woodhull Raceway. And I know there's been a lot of speculation about the crate late models coming to Woodhull. And, I just want to caution folks that, nothing has been officially announced that the crate late models are coming to Woodhull. So is it a possibility that it could happen? Yes, absolutely. But, again, I know that something that they were trying to work on was trying to get a sanction with a couple of tracks to get on board because, as everybody knows, Woodhull is an American Racer track. They have been for many years. And Ted, owning the track, sells, he's an American Racer dealer. So, to bring the crate late models to the track, it only makes sense to make that an American Racer crate late model track. Now, I don't think that jives with the Rush, with their setup. I think that's a strictly, and Clint, you'll have to help me on this. I think Rush is a strictly Hoosier deal.
Yeah, most of the touring late model series are all Hoosier deals.
So
Sweeney Cars, Rush.
Yeah. So with that being said, now the Outlaw has gone with the Rush sanction. That kind of takes one of those pieces out of the puzzle as far as, can we get a couple of tracks on board and maybe get, some kind of sanction going with American Racer. So, again, I just want to caution folks that are saying, oh, the crate late models are coming to Woodhull, they're coming to Woodhull, because there's so much of that's a very fluid situation right now. And again, nothing has been officially announced. The banquet is coming up on December 10th, and if I know Ted White, like I think I do, having worked with him here this first season, he will probably make that part of his address as to what's going to happen with divisions. We do know the 360 late models have been dropped for 2017. And as sad as that was for a lot of the guys that have stuck it out with the 360s for so long, Clint, I think everybody kind of understood that it was time. The introduction of the crate late models to the region definitely hurt the 360 late model program. Gary talked to us about that several times. And it was just, to me, Clint, it felt like it was something that was kind of inevitable. It was bound to happen at some time. The 360 late models had a great run at all the local tracks that they raced at. Mm-hmm. But it was time, there was a shift. A lot of guys got on board with it, and we see it all the time. I mean, look at the super stocks. The super stocks had a great run for quite a while, and then it developed into the 360 late models, and the super stocks went around.
Well, that's a matter of opinion how that all went down.
Okay, all right. Well, we won't get caught up in the.
But yes, I get what you're saying.
Okay, all right. So, again, this is just another shift of how this is all playing out. So, again, obviously stay tuned to the Woodhull Raceway Facebook page and their website for all the official announcement and what divisions will be running and all that good stuff. And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll hear it first here on our banquet episode. You just never know. But hey, we've got we've got that happening. We've got it seems like things are pretty well full speed ahead out at I-88, which is now going to be renamed Afton Motorsports Park. And interestingly enough, and we're going to talk about this on the other side of the break, you've got American Racer Cup weekend coming to the Short Track Super Nationals, and just announced, actually it broke out on the internet last night, Eastern States weekend will expand to Thursday, and on that Thursday will be the championship event for the Short Track Super Series. We'll have more on that after the break. You're listening to Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of silly season and motorsports.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What? No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up. See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi race fans, this is Kelly Hebing and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
I gotta believe there's people listening out there in dirt track land here, because as we go to commercial break, I'm not kidding you. I got 2 invitations to dirt racing parties that are coming up here in the off season. I love it. Good stuff. And you know what? That's a good opportunity to mention. If I could real quick here, a shameless plug for Creekside Entertainment for all of your dirt racing benefit party needs. Every year we run a special on benefit parties for DJ and sound system work. It's a discounted rate for a 4-hour party. So if you're interested in having some fairly cheap entertainment for your racing benefit party and make sure everybody has a good time, give Stu a call, 315-481-9700, and we'll get you hooked up for your race benefit party. But, Clint, I teased it right before the break. Just came out on the internet last night, and then I see it came out on the electronic version of Area Auto today. Eastern States weekend expands to Thursday, and now will host the championship round of the North region for the Short Track Super Series. Boom, confetti.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wow, that makes it for a really serious weekend at Eastern States. That's and Brett Deo, and just wow right now. I just, this is you saying it right now is the first that I'd heard of it, and so I haven't even been able to process it yet.
And I didn't know that Eastern States was going to be part of the equation, but I was curious to see how that would all shake out, because we knew that the American Racer Cup program, Brett is taking over the management of that program, and we heard that the American Racer Cup weekend was going to Afton Motorsports Park, or formerly known as I-88, during Short Track Super Nationals weekend. So it was kind of, the Super Nationals has been where they have decided the Short Track Super Series. So I was curious, how is that all going to play out? How's that going to work? Well, now we've got the answer. We're going to decide the Short Track Super Series on Thursday of Eastern States weekend. And this is just that continued effort working together, Clint. I mean, you and I went back to either the first or second Hard Clay Open there at Orange County. And you know what? That's been a successful relationship between Orange County and Brett Deo.
Yeah, and I think it was the first one they had. I guess I'm not sure, Steve. But yeah, that was an amazing show that day, and the way it started for me and the way it finished was 180 degrees, and it was one of the best times that I've had at a racetrack. Covering for Turn 5 and getting some driver interviews from guys that don't race around here, and I think that was the first day it might have been the first day that we've actually met Brett face to face.
Yeah,
we sat in on the drivers meeting, and it was just really cool.
It was, racing can be quite a sobering experience, I guess you should.
Oh my
God!
Say. Oh my God!
Oh, poor Clint was in rough shape that day. But you know what? We saw a hell of a race. We did.
It only took a big greasy cheeseburger out of the grill to turn my day around.
Good stuff, man. So you've got that. So now you're going to have American Racer Cup weekend will be during Short Track Super Nationals weekend. That's going to kind of combine into one. Now you're going to have the Short Track Super Series North region will be decided Thursday of Eastern States weekend. So that's certainly big news. Also talking along the lines of Short Track Super Series and Brett Deo promoted shows, the Gobla, as Jacob put it last night on Motorsports Madness. Now that Brett and Heather Deo have moved down to the Delaware area, I guess they can try and start calling it the Gobbler now, right? So, it's the Gobbler got postponed last weekend. They got some wet weather, and everybody I know was clamoring on Facebook about how good the weather was during the day, but the rain that came down in the morning really prevented them from having to do anything or being able to do anything with the racetrack to try and go racing. And with that big of an event, with that many people coming out for it, they had to make the decision they did. And there's a lot riding on that decision. And I'm thrilled, really, that I have never have to be in that position, because I'm never going to own a racetrack. I'm never going to promote a racetrack. And Brad, go ahead and tuck this audio away in the Race City USA studios, because you're never going to be able to prove me wrong. I am never going to own a racetrack, never going to promote a racetrack. I'm glad that I don't have to be the guy or gal that has to make that decision on a weekly basis. But they will, for the second year in a row, will race in December at the Gobbler. So that should be interesting. Last year, I think it was Danny Johnson that picked up the win in December. And Clint, man, appreciate you coming on the show tonight. And hey, man, keep it safe down there in the salt mine.
Yeah, absolutely. All day, every day.
All right. Clint Miller joining us on the program tonight, as he always does. And a dedicated sea shifter headed off to his job tonight. But so I've personally never been to Accord myself, and honestly, the Gobbler is an event that I've had kind of on that list. And I saw in a Facebook group here a little bit ago that that talked about events that are on your bucket list, or events that you've gone to that you think other fans need to go to as well. And so that the Gobblers definitely, for me, has got to be on that list of ones that I've not been to. And when you can say that you're going to see a dirt modified race in early December, that's a pretty cool thing to be able to do and say. So there's going to be a lot of great competition out there this weekend. A couple of guys that I think you ought to keep your eye on in this one. One has got to be Dwayne Howard, Mr. November 2016 this season. Comes into the Gobbler with a lot of momentum on his side. And he'll be driving the potent 357 for Norm Hansel this weekend. And so that's coming up this weekend. And Brad, with the 305 Tour, do you guys race at Accord on that series?
No, we didn't this year.
Okay. Because I was thinking, I know I've never been there. I didn't know if any of you guys had been to Accord before.
No, not off the top of my head. Like you said before, I know I've seen it places, and especially the Smash and Crash DVD that me and Mel Thomas and Matt Thomas do. But as far as being there in person, I don't believe I've ever have.
Yeah, well, that'll be a great race this weekend. I think the weather, from the last time that I looked at it, the weather should be shaping up pretty good for them. Certainly better than last weekend, and like I said, it was the, not necessarily the predicted forecast that knocked them out, but that morning rain. And Brad, I know that you know this, following the sprint tour around. Sometimes at your track they get put into that situation, and there's just not a thing they can do about it, because if they've already watered for the day, and then Mother Nature dumps even more water that they weren't anticipating, that really throws a monkey wrench into special shows. Now, like on a weekly show, maybe you've got a little leeway. You can try and take that extra time to get the track right and get it worked in. But with these big paying shows where you've got a monster purse on the line, you can't take any chances.
No, and no matter what anybody says, if you're running a racetrack, or you're doing the grooming and you're doing the maintenance of the track surface itself, you can't sit there and wait and say, well, the forecast says we're going to have morning showers and not water the track, because then what do you do if it doesn't rain? Now you've got a dry track that doesn't have the water in it, and watering these racetracks, these dirt tracks, it's not a simple fact of, all right, let's dump 1,500 gallons of water on it and we're good to go. It's a multi-day process, and you got to really let it soak in and really let, it's one of those things you can't rush.
No, you can't rush it at all. And so, we wish them luck with that event this weekend. It has become, it has really taken on its own identity, this race has. Being, and now, like we said, for the second year in a row, it's going to be the last race of the season in the Northeast, and it's going to take place in December of all time periods. I mean, that's just crazy in itself. And so, I know there was some folks around this area that were headed out to see that show. So if you're headed back out there this weekend, enjoy it. It should be a great race. And at a tight little bull ring track at Accord, it should really be a good show out there with Brett Deo and the crew out there this weekend at Accord. Hey, we're going to step aside here. When we come back, Jacob Seelman from Race Chaser Online and the Performance Motorsports Network, fresh off of episode number 100 of Motorsports Madness. He will join us next to talk Silly Season 2017 right here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Max Dairy Bar is a proud supporter of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Opened in 1974, Max Dairy Bar has been a Penn Yan, Cayuga Lake, and Yates County staple, serving the best Hershey's hard ice cream. They also have soft serve ice cream, their weekly yogurt special, sorbet flavors, gluten-free options, frozen Greek yogurt, and non-dairy lemon ice. Don't forget about their tricky 18-hole putt-putt course that will test your skill to see if you have what it takes to be a champion. Max Dairy Bar and Mini Golf, located on State Route 14A, just south of the village of Penn Yan, right on the way to Black Rock Speedway on Friday nights. Visit them online at www.maxdairybar.com or Max Dairy Bar on Facebook and Twitter. Stop by Max Dairy Bar and tell them Turn 5 Live sent you.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
Hi, race fans. This is Chris Mashesky, and you're listening to Turn 5 on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stephen and Brad Ovens is now joined by Jacob Seelman from RaceChaserOnline.com. Your motorsports your way every day. Find them online, RaceChaserOnline.com. And here at the Performance Motorsports Network, Jacob, I'll just say it. Silly season. Drop mic.
So yeah, let's basically be clear what we're going to do with these last couple segments here, Steve. We're going to take you guys all the way back to the beginning, and we're basically going to go through the entirety of silly season to this point again, because when we started this whole silly season deal about 6 weeks ago, there was a lot happened then, and there's been a lot that's happened since then, and I will admit there's probably some people, Steve, out there that we know that may have forgotten what happened at the beginning of silly season. So I say we catch them up. How about you?
I say we catch them up, and when we go back in time, I think it takes us back to World Finals.
Yes, it does. This goes back basically to World Finals is when the pressure cooker started to explode, and that was when it all started with Joey Saldana announcing that he was going to be rideless at the end of the year. So there was that. Then that was the domino that kind of started everything, Steve. And obviously we've since gotten the answer to that, but the whole Pandora's box of everything. I mean, this whole sequence. Well, let's see. What all did we have? We had Saldana looking for a ride. You had, oh gosh, now I'm trying to go through the entire sequence in order, and I can promise you I'm going to screw this up somewhere along the way. Let's see. You had Saldana looking for a ride, and he ended up finding his ride through the Matt Wood Racing, Ricky Stenhouse combined team for the 17 that was announced here in the last couple of days that's going to tackle the Outlaws Tour in 2017. We had a whole host of moves in the World of Outlaws late model ranks, not the least of which was Josh Richards and Brandon Shepard playing ride swap, and Shepard's going to the Rocket House car and Josh is going to Shepard's car at Best Performance, and everybody's confused still as to why that's even a thing. You had Dale Blaney, who lost his ride at the end of the season. We'll get to that in a minute. You had Kerry Madsen get picked up in the big game number 2 that Danny Lasowski was kicked out of at World Finals. I knew I was missing a piece, Steve. You had Lasowski kicked out of his ride at World Finals, and Kerry Madsen jumps in it from the 17 that ends up getting inhabited by Joey Saldana as the Roth team shuts down. You had the Outlaws play ride swap in the late models, and now you have Dale Blaney. This is where we get to today. You have Dale Blaney, who signs with the Zemco Speed Equipment number 1 car to take over for Lucas Wolf, who jumped over to the Mike Barshinger car in Pennsylvania that was piloted by Corey Haas earlier this season. If you're not writing this down, I warn you, there's going to be a pop quiz before the end of this show. I mean, we've had so much stuff going on and so many high-profile moves and maneuvers and switches. I'll basically paint the spreadsheet like this. Lasowski loses his ride. Kerry Madsen jumps in it. That opens up the ride that Madsen was in, the 17. That goes to Saldana. Saldana's ride shuts down. So we've solved that portion of the sprint car equation. Dale Blaney loses his ride out over in Ohio, jumps into the Zemco car, which had been Lucas Wolf's car. Wolf leaves the Zemco 1 car and hops into the car that Corey Haas was in. We don't know what's going to happen to Corey Haas over in Pennsylvania next year, but what we do know is, well, we've had a lot of silly season, and it's not even December yet, Steve. I mean, my head's spinning just trying to explain it all again. I've barely been able to keep up myself.
Well, while we're still on the long portion of the segment here,
yeah,
I want to tackle the Josh Richards and Brad Shepard ride swap, because to me, that has been the biggest head scratcher of silly season, because, I mean, you take a championship effort in which Josh Richards and the Rocket House car set records. I mean, they broke and reset records. And now he's just, I'm going to go do a ride swap with Brad Shepard. What?
Well, they are both Rocket teams. I think we all forget about that. They are both Rocket teams.
That is true, but I mean, boy, a winning combination. I'm scratching my head. I can't figure it out.
Well, you know, Josh has every record in the World of Outlaws Late Model Series record book, Steve, and I really started thinking about this after I actually asked him the question after World Finals, what's next, or what's left for Josh Richards to do. And the longer I thought about this, Steve, we've talked about this and had this argument earlier this year, actually. I think it was on this show, as a matter of fact. Which tour was the stronger tour? Which tour was more prestigious, the World of Outlaws or the Lucas Oil Tour? And right now, I'm starting to think now, if Best Performance comes out and says they're running a full World of Outlaws schedule next year, it's going to completely debunk my theory. But if they don't, I'm starting to subscribe to the theory that perhaps Josh Richards is content having set every record in the World of Outlaws late model book, and now says, okay, I want to leave no doubt that I'm the best dirt late model driver in the country. Go win a Lucas Oil championship. Once you've done that, buddy, you're set. I can't help but think that just maybe that might not have a little tiny something to do with it. Just maybe.
I'm on board with you. I like that thought process. Now, with that being said, if that's what comes to fruition, I mean, let's be straight about it here. The Lucas Oil Series, Josh Richards or not, that's not a given. I mean, that is a tough tour. But you're absolutely right. If he could go and have similar success and lock down the Lucas Oil Series the year after breaking all the records with the World of Outlaw late models, I mean, yeah.
At that point, in my opinion, there's no question Josh Richards is the best dirt late model driver in the country, because at that point, you've beaten Bloomquist, you've beaten McCready, you've beaten, gosh, I mean,
Lanigan.
I could go on all day. Lanigan, O'Neill, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's talk about the silly season move and what a relief it must be for Joey Saldana now, knowing that he has a secure ride. And I'm going to start with this question, Jacob, because Joey said in the World of Outlaws press release that came out, he said that if he couldn't find a full-time ride on the World of Outlaws tour, that, you know, he was considering stepping away from the car. Do you think that's talk, or do you think that he really would have stepped away?
I think he would have. I mean, he told me point blank when I interviewed him one-on-one at the end of the World Finals that if he couldn't find a competitive ride, one that he knew he could win in, that there was no sense in just going and jumping in a car to race and putts around mid-pack, because that's not the kind of racer Joey Saldana is. Joey goes out to try to win every single night, and if he can't be in a car that he knows can win, it was kind of like that unspoken what's the point sort of thing. But, you know, he said it to me when I interviewed him after World Finals, that it would suck if he couldn't get to 100 Outlaws wins, but that he felt he had proved enough that if he couldn't be competitive, there was no point in just going back out to race races if you can't go out and contend to win. So, no, I don't believe that was just talk. I believe that was Joey being Joey Saldana and being the kind of racer that Joey Saldana is. I mean, they don't call him the Brownsburg Bullet for nothing, Steve. He has a reputation and has had for the basically 2 decades that he's been on the tour. You don't want to tarnish that. You don't want to mess with that. So, but with that said, this is not a junk ride. Matt Wood doesn't bring junk to the racetrack. This car will not only contend for race wins, but keep in mind the other guy that's backing this car, some Stenhouse guy. You might have heard of him a time or two over in that their NASCAR thing that we don't talk about on this show hardly at all, ever. But Ricky bringing money to this deal, we know how big Ricky was in the sprint car before he got to the roundy rounds on the pavement. So, Steve, this team has everything it needs to be successful. It has a driver that's ready to go race to win. And, oh, by the way, they hired the crew chief off of Kerry Madsen's old Canaric racing car, the 29 car, and we know how many races that car won over the course of its career. I like this recipe. I like it a lot.
Now, last night, you stepped out on a limb a little bit and said that you think their first race win, and that win 100, could come at Volusia. Now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to step off of that statement here on Turn 5 Live after you've had about 24 hours to think on that. Are you backing away from it, or are you going to stick with it?
I'll answer your question like this. Hell no, I'm not backing away from it. I will stand by it all the way to the end of sprint week at Volusia, and he doesn't have a trophy. Only then will I believe, okay, it's not going to happen, because this team is going to be out for blood from the get-go. This is not a startup team. This is not a team that doesn't know how to set up a sprint car to go fast. This team had Brian Clausen behind the wheel. This team was winning races with Brian Clausen behind the wheel. Joey Saldana is going to race on in memory of his friend, and Joey Saldana is going to want to park that thing for Brian Clausen. And I stand by what I said. I will stand by it all the way to February. He wins during the Dirt Car Nationals at Volusia, period.
All right. Well, folks, you heard it here. Well, not first, because he said it last night. But you heard it here second on Turn 5 Live. And with that, we're going to step aside here. When we come back, we'll break down a little bit more of some of the silly season news that has come out, including a Super Dirt Car Series team that has a new team that will come out here in 2017.
Oh, right. There was that, too.
There was that, yes. A Super Modified driver and a Super Dirt Car Series driver teaming up for 2017. We'll talk about that, and we've got to talk about the deal with Dale Blaney going to Zemco Racing. So we'll do that next here as we get ready to wrap it up here on Turn 5 Live on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Max Dairy Bar is a proud supporter of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Opened in 1974, Max Dairy Bar has been a Penn Yan, Cayuga Lake, and Yates County staple, serving the best Hershey's hard ice cream. They also have soft serve ice cream, their weekly yogurt special, sorbet flavors, gluten-free options, frozen Greek yogurt, and non-dairy lemon ice. Don't forget about their tricky 18-hole putt-putt course that will test your skill to see if you have what it takes to be a champion. Max Dairy Bar and Mini Golf, located on State Route 14A, just south of the village of Penn Yan, right on the way to Black Rock Speedway on Friday nights. Visit them online at www.maxdairybar.com or Max Dairy Bar on Facebook and Twitter. Stop by Max Dairy Bar and tell them Turn 5 Live sent you. Creekside Entertainment is the official DJ, photo booth, and uplighting company of Turn 5 Live and the Performance Motorsports Network. Stuart Ovens and his staff at Creekside Entertainment are professional and experienced with events of any type. Creekside Entertainment specializes in wedding packages that are affordable and fun, and they are ready to serve you with the most up-to-date music and karaoke selection. If you can sing it in the shower, you can come out and sing it with Creekside Entertainment. And don't forget about the Creekside Entertainment photo booth and uplighting service that will transform your wedding or party into an event the family will be talking about for years. Trust the entertainment company that racers trust. Call Stu at area code 315-481-9700 or visit them online at creeksideentertainmentdj.com. You can also find them on Facebook and Twitter. Creekside Entertainment, division sponsor of the Black Rock Bandits in 2015.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, race fans. This is Dan Harpel from Penn Can Speedway, and you're listening to Turn 5 Live on PMN.
Welcome back, race fans, to Turn 5 Live here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Taking the white flag here as we get ready to wrap things up. Jacob Seelman joining us from Race Chaser Online and the Performance Motorsports Network, talking silly season 2017 with some changes coming, and one of them certainly Dale Blaney, the tall drink of water in a sprint car, going to the Zemco Racing team. And, this is, we talked about it last night, Jacob. This is another one of those silly season items that really is a win-win situation here.
I agree with that. Well, yeah, I agree with that. The only thing I'm a little disappointed with is the fact that we're not going to see Dale get a chance to go for that magical, or at least at this point, it doesn't look like we're going to get to see Dale go for that magical 7th All-Stars title next year. But the longer I thought about this today, the more I asked myself, Steve, why does he need to? What does Dale Blaney really have left to prove with the All-Stars? He's won 134 features. He's won 6 championships. Nobody's got more wins. At least right now, nobody's got more championships. And even if Chad Kavanaugh comes back and wins the title this year, he'll only be tied with Blaney for the most championships. What stuck out to me was the comment that Dale made in a story by Jeremy Elliott of our friends at Penn Live late last night, early this morning, was that Dale kind of referenced that sometimes, even in a great situation, even in a winning situation, sometimes a driver needs a breath of fresh air and a change of scenery. And it stuck out to me how excited he is. Maybe this is going to be a really good thing because it's something different. It's a new test for Dale to try and prove. I mean, he's 52 years old, yes, but he's certainly not forgotten how to drive a race car, and he's certainly still, I think, at the top of his game when it comes to sprint car racing. I'd argue he's one of the best in the country. So to put Dale in a situation now where he gets to race pretty much on a weekly basis against, Steve, what do we call the Pennsylvania Posse on this show? The best regulars in any region in the country. If you can beat the Posse on their home turf, son, you've done something. And I can't help but think that might be part of the allure and part of the excitement for Dale going into this new ride with Zemco, is that he has a chance to beat the Posse on their own turf, which is something that he couldn't say when he was running with the All-Stars, because every time they go into Posse territory, he'd get beat.
No, that's exactly right. And I think that is, this is going to be a great challenge for him, and I think now last night, this news was kind of breaking as we were talking on the air last night with Lenny Baticki. Get me up to speed a little bit on the particulars here. Have they talked schedule?
They did in the Penn Live article. They're planning 50 to 60 races in the central Pennsylvania area. And Dale did say in that piece that he is still looking for an All-Stars ride for the Ohio shows when he's not racing the Zemco car. But the Zemco car at the central PA tracks, your Port Royals, your Susquehannas, your Williams Groves, places like that, he said that Zemco car and what they want to do will be his priority next year and not the All-Stars. That spoke to me a lot about where Dale Blaney's head is at going into this. He's committed.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And that's a great team that now adds a great driver, and that's not to take anything away from Lucas Wolf, because we saw what Lucas Wolf can do with that Zemco car when he came up here to New York and darn near pulled out a couple of wins, not only with the 410 with the Outlaws at Fulton, but he came up with the 5W and nearly pulled off a 360 win at Outlaw Speedway just a couple weeks later. So
in the Empire race, I remember that.
Yes, yep, exactly. So we know what he can do. That's for sure. Let's talk about a Super Dirt Car Series silly season story that has kind of come out over the last couple weeks, maybe a month ago now, or at least it feels like it's been that long. I guess the holidays will do that to you. Tim Fuller comes out of this season I don't know that Tim was necessarily searching for a ride, but something certainly popped up, and he is going to be teamed up with Cody Graham. Yes, that's right, Cody Graham from the super modified ranks at Oswego. Boy, I guess that was a positive thing that came out of Super Dirt Week had taking place up at the Steel Palace. Tim Fuller gets an opportunity to meet the Grahams, and he's going to be in a Graham racing ride next year.
Yeah. This to me is where I scratch my head, Steve. I mean, I'll be honest.
From the land of say what?
Yes. I mean, I know for you, the say what story was Josh Richards, Brandon Shepard. For me, this is the say what story because I just don't know, honestly. For all that Cody Graham's done in a super, he's won races at Oswego, and his dad is so committed to the super modified field up there. I mean, heck, he runs like he runs like 20% of the field some nights. I just don't know with this. This came so far out of left field, Steve. It's like, I don't know what to expect. I mean, we know Tim Fuller knows how to win races, but, are they going to be up to speed? Are they going to be prepared when the word go gets dropped? I mean, I feel like right now with this deal, because there wasn't a lot of details announced when this whole thing came out in the media at first, I feel like I still have more questions than answers about this whole thing because we know they're working on stuff, but I don't think we have a really good idea or a picture of how prepared that they're really going to be. I feel like this is the biggest wait and see story of silly season. I'm not going to believe that this team's going to come out and be competitive until they come out and show me that they're going to be competitive, even with a guy like Tim Fuller. And yes, that's me on a dirt show saying that in the dirt short track world, equipment still matters. I know people like to say, no, it's more about the driver, and I agree with that in a lot of ways now, but this is one case especially where, because it's something new for them, the equipment's going to matter and the preparation is going to matter, and I just don't know, Steve. I love that they got Tim Fuller, but I just don't know.
Yeah, let me give you an example of equipment matters. Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson has maintained in a full-time ride for the last couple of seasons, but it wasn't until the second half of this season where they were able to add to their arsenal and bring in some fresh equipment. And when they did just that, that team came back to life. And instead of running for top 10s, they were running for top 5s. And they were making charges from 20th to 2nd. And, so you're absolutely right. Equipment matters. My prediction, and I'm just, shooting darts here, Jacob, I could see this team maybe not making the trip to Volusia because it doesn't pay Super Dirt Car Series points. Because they're essentially starting from the ground up, as far as I know. So maybe we don't see them even at Volusia. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with all of that. But Jacob, appreciate the time tonight, man. It was great talking silly season.
Absolutely. It's been fun, and I have a weird feeling that I'm going to be talking more silly season on this show in the weeks to come because as much as we've already seen, I don't think it's done yet.
You ain't seen nothing yet, that's for sure.
Yes, sir.
But, man, thank you. Appreciate it very much for you joining us. We'll talk to you again here in the coming weeks. Thank you to Brad Ovens, Clint Miller. I'm the host of Turn 5 Live, Stephen Ovens, saying thank you for joining us. We'll be right back here next Tuesday night at 7:30 p.m. right here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Good night, everybody.
Turn 5 Live is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. PerformanceMotorsportsNetwork.com is a member of the Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guest, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or marketing partners. Thank you for listening to Turn 5 Live. You can listen to Turn 5 Live every Tuesday night right here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Stay tuned for more great PMN programming.
Everything's better when she's around. Can't wait till the parents go out of town. I fell in love.